day one of the meeting between the teacher unions and the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Labor, and as well as the GES has come to an end, but they did not reach a decision. They are to return to the table tomorrow for the finality of the matter to be determined. In fact, when we spoke with them, they indicated that they belong to some other associations, and so they had to reach out to them. It's not all of them that they have gotten in touch with, and so they want to do that. That is from the teacher union. They want to do that and then return to the table, and they are confident that by tomorrow, 2 p.m. when they meet, a closure will be brought on this matter. And we've been speaking with the president of NAT, Isaac Owusu.
The agreement here is that the two parties have agreed that we should adjourn and resume tomorrow 2 p.m.
What are some of the considerations?
Please, we shall conclude tomorrow exactly 2 p.m. So be rest assured. We do not want to apportion any blame to anybody. Whether the government side have failed or the unions have failed, nobody has failed.
Are you getting signals that he will be removed?
Certainly tomorrow when we meet.
Mr. President, you're not
certainly, please listen to me. Certainly tomorrow when we meet, the outcome will be before you. Thank you very much.
Continues?
I said we have adjourned to this meeting. We have adjourned to this meeting. You see, so until the teachers hear from the leadership of the union, till now we have adjourned the meeting. So until tomorrow they hear from the leadership of the union, what I can say is that the teachers should remain calm and continue to stay at home.
Only the removal of the DG that is on the table, or that
I cannot let the cat out of the bag, please. I said we couldn't conclude tomorrow. Certainly tomorrow all the detail will be put before you.
Now, on behalf of the Ministry of Education, the Labor Relations, they had a spokesperson in the person of the Deputy Minister of Employment and Labor Relations, Rekubrobe, and he's been explaining that, well, the meeting was somewhat successful, except that the teacher unions had to tell them that they had to do further consultations in order to return to the table. So they are confident that by tomorrow, they will reach an amicable resolution of this matter, and they put everything behind them.
The second time you have failed to call the teachers to go back to work.
You see, when you say failed, it's a very strong word. We have not failed. If there are issues and you are discussing and you say failed, you're already preempting the outcome of it. We have not. We've, in fact, had another constructive meeting, which for me, tomorrow, God willing, you know, we have to do further consultations. They, on the other hand, says that yes, they have other stakeholders beyond those who came here. So tomorrow, God willing, we will bring this matter to a very successful end.
Was this first half of the meeting successful, according to you?
For me, it's. I mean, we all came thinking that we could resolve it today. To that extent, I would have wished that this thing was dealt with and we are fine, but it didn't happen like that. We have to allow, because it takes two to tango, and we can't be that entrenched and say we are keeping them. So once they have promised and given us tomorrow, God willing, let's all be optimistic and let Ghanaians know that this matter will be resolved.
What reason did they give you for coming back tomorrow?
Further consultations. Further consultations.
Prime Minister, do you have the signal that the unions are backing down their decision, calling for the removal of the Director General?
Oh, I am very optimistic that tomorrow, God willing, we will rest this matter.
That he will be removed or he will still be at position, post?
We are talking about a matter which outcome will be determined.
You're welcome back to the AM show. That was Richard Kojanyako's report on the teacher unions and government over strike action meeting that was inconclusive. And joining me for this conversation is Dr. Peter Nti, who is Executive Director for the Institute for Education Studies. Doc, good morning and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning.
Now, you've been monitoring the situation, right? So what are your initial remarks of it?
Yes, we've been monitoring this situation, and we think that we shouldn't have gotten here in the first place, because in most of these professional systems, you use appointments to motivate the rank and file of the union. So where there is a vacancy, you try as much as possible to find ways and means to use that particular appointment to signal the unions, I mean the members of the system, that you believe in their capability, you believe in hard work, and when one is able to climb to the topmost level, he will be given what is due him. So we shouldn't have gotten here in the first place. That is our initial observation about this whole thing.
But do you think that the teacher unions have any justification for their action?
Well, I think that for me are supposed to be the last option when it comes to agitation, because the effect of strike on especially the education sector is huge, especially looking at the distorted nature of our academic calendar. I was thinking that when the teacher union signaled that they would want to embark on an industrial action, the first approach would have been, because I think that there was adequate time given the relevant authorities that this was going to happen. So the first approach would have been to engage them extensively so that we wouldn't have reached the 4th November deadline. Unfortunately, it happened that we had to get to this stage. So I wish that we wouldn't have gotten here, but I feel that maybe the teacher unions also thought that their concerns were being brushed off and they needed to make a huge statement.
Okay, now let's talk about the newly appointed Director General. What do you know about him, Dr. Eric Nkansa?
I personally do not know him. I have read about him. I'm told that he worked at the Ministry of Education. He's been in the ministry for some time now. And I don't think I can speak to, I don't have any issue with his capability or his ability. I think that he's a victim of circumstances. And if on a normal day such an appointment was made, I don't think that we would have had this challenge coming up. But I think that there are underlying issues that have resulted in what we are experiencing now, and that he is just a victim of circumstances. I pray that he's able to go through this, and if he is able to go through this, I believe that he should learn from what the atmosphere around his appointment and use that, or that should prepare him to transform the education system to a higher level.
You mentioned underlying issues. Underlying issues like what?
There are underlying issues that cannot be said now, but there are seriously underlying issues. If you try to mind back, I think around May, I first released a statement, and everything that has happened after May is clearly supporting what I first talked about in that particular season. I would love that maybe you being the journalist and your team should look for that statement from my first in May. Okay. And you would understand what we mean by underlying issues.
All right. Now, you know that the teacher unions are saying that they don't want Dr. Eric Nkansa because he doesn't have a education or a background in education. So should a GES DG necessarily have that type of education?
I will answer this question by first looking at the backgrounds of all those who have headed the Ghana Education Service. So you go back and you look at their backgrounds, you see that all of them are technically professional teachers. And I think that is where the unions are coming from. I know if you read the profile of Dr. Nkansa, you see that he's taught. He has extensive teaching experience. I think the problem basically with his qualification is that he is not a professional teacher. And being called to head a professional body like the teaching service, where majority of its members are professional teachers, and coming from the background that we are even admonishing every teacher to be certified and giving the needed license before he or she can teach. It means that we needed somebody who had also gone through the education system with a qualification as a professional teacher. I think that is where the teacher unions are coming from. And if you go by that direction, I am tempted to side with them, because you need somebody who has a qualification, a professional qualification in education, so that the rank and file of the teacher body would also appreciate that this is one of our own. He understands that he's gone through the rudiments of the teaching profession, and therefore he can lead us. I'm tempted to believe that that is what should have been the case. But of course, he has been appointed. Maybe this keeps the attention of the appointing authority, and maybe this should send out a signal to the appointing authority that in the near future, some of these things should be looked into. Because as I said earlier on, you can use appointments to motivate the rank and file of the very system that you are heading. And if you are not careful, you can use appointments to also demotivate the various systems that you are heading. And that is what we are experiencing now. And I hope that in the near future, these things would be looked at.
So I'm looking at your statement from May, right? And you said, so the IFS said the ministry was making the GES ineffective. By appointing Dr. Eric Nkansa, would you think that, or would you say that the ministry is making the GES ineffective? Because he doesn't have a background in education.
I think the issues that resulted in us talking about that were instances that have been cited in the same letter that sought to indicate that there were issues happening, implementation issues, policy issues that were supposed to be in the domain of the Ghana Education Service that have been taken over by the Ministry of Education. So those were the issues that we were talking about. Now, if you go a step further, you will see that bringing in somebody from the ministry to come and head the Ghana Education Service it signals something that supports some of the things that we were talking about. Okay, because this person has worked in the ministry before. He's working in the ministry.
Yeah.
And there are things that have been happening in the education service that the education service people were not so much happy about. Okay, so if there's a vacancy to be filled, maybe they were thinking that you bring somebody from the education service to come and head, so that that person would have a clear understanding of the implementation issues that is going on in the education service, would be able to push forward the beliefs and the aspirations of the education service. But here's the situation that someone from the ministry is also coming to head the education service, and that technically might create a problem. That is what we are experiencing now.
All right, so I'm sure the teacher unions, have had conversations with the ministry and about their concerns, and this is the last resort. So, but should a strike be the way to press home their demands?
That's why I said that strikes are technically the last option. So maybe they felt that the ministry was not listening to them and they needed to make these huge statements. I don't think that is the way to go. I think that they should be able to reach a compromise, especially looking at the disadvantaged nature of the public basic school students. And that is where we always come from, because the public basic school students have been at a disadvantage since the introduction of the new curriculum in terms of supply of textbooks and all those things that comes in between. Even when it comes to the closure of schools and the resumption, COVID has brought about a lot of learning loss, over 50% as experienced in the public basic schools. So we don't need a strike at this time. And I think that the leaders who are leading the negotiation would appreciate this and call off the strike as early as possible, so that we will get academic work running. And this should also serve as an indication to the appointing authorities that in the near future, when such appointments are to be made, they should be able to take all the needed boxes. Okay.
Negotiations will continue today at 2 p.m. What should the parties be looking out for?
I think that the central theme should be the interest of the Ghanaian basic school students. Okay. And if we are all interested in ensuring that the students receive the needed academic attention, receive the needed teaching and learning, then we should all back down on our entrenched position and reach a compromise. And I hope that a compromise will be reached today.
All right. We certainly hope that a compromise will be reached today. That is Dr. Peter Enti, who is Executive Director at the Institute for Education Studies. Some stakeholders who've been discussing this or who have commented on this, one of them being Deputy Ranking Member on Parliament's Education Committee, Dr. Clement Park. He says that some of the strikes in this education sector are entirely preventable. And he also he also noted that while it may be argued that the president's decision is final in matters of appointment, but he thinks that the president should rethink his decision. We will be following this strike in our subsequent bulletins, so do make sure that you continue and join the conversation, Joy News on TV. But also on the show, we'll tell you about Low Price Masters and how you can benefit from their amazing discounts. We'll also have a very exciting conversation because tomorrow there's another edition of the Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting, and this year the theme is 17 times too many. What should we stop doing and start doing as a people? More details later on the show. We also have my favorite part of the show where we get to hear your thoughts. What do you guys have to say? We'll open the phone lines. We'll also check out what's trending on social media. You can join the conversation, Joy News on TV with the hashtag AM Show. We're going to take a quick breather. We'll be back with more.